We had 4 principles when we started off. And that was, we wanted the learning to be operational. That is really done in the everyday work. It must be accessible. That means you don't have to go to the back of the store in your manager's computer. You need to access on your phone. We want it to be relevant to the role, to your competence level, to your brand type. And finally, the 4th principle, it has to be fun. We know that if we can engage people and make it fun, then they probably come back more than half, every once or twice a year for training. So the solution, it was mobile first. That was a really big thing that we had to get everybody on board on. We needed to bring your own device and strategy where they could use their own phone, but they could log on to the store's Wi-Fi. Or they could do it on the bus or at home, as we see many actually do. But the main principle was mobile first. Personalized micro-learning, that was the second key. It has to be what you need and when you need it in bite-sized chunks. So it's easy to do just 2 minutes before you go out on the floor to work. Yes.
So Coop Skolen is your equivalent of an academy?
Exactly. It's the core of Coop Skolen is the learning app. And then we also have a training room in a facility where I work, which is called Coop Skolen Room. And it's also the sort of umbrella for all that we do with training, management training and compliance training. Everything is under the Coop Skolen umbrella or Coop Academy.
So in a second, you're going to take us on a journey for something that happened in the summer of 2024, which is unique. Your approach is unique on it. Before we get there, 60 cooperatives around Norway. So trying to bring people on board from those 60, handling that change management, which I guess for a lot of people here, change management is critical. What approaches did you take to get them on board?
Thankfully, Teams was a thing because this was during the pandemic in 2021. So I could travel around the Norwegian country by Teams. So I went on a digital road trip and we visited all the management groups in all these 60 cooperatives. And we talked about this shift. We talked about the readiness, how we need to have the infrastructure and the learning culture to be ready for anything that hits us. It was a really good timing because the pandemic was hitting us pretty hard, in a positive way for grocers, of course, but the message of cultivating readiness was very easy to get through to the management groups. But it was a long road, it took 6 months to visit all the management groups and talk to the unions and everybody involved to get them on board. And the important thing was that we were not selling an app. We were selling or convincing them about the mind shift. This is another way of thinking about learning. Learning is not something that you just complete and then you can be happy that you completed it, to continuously learn.
So we've seen as a company that a lot of American and Canadian grocers, in particular obviously that's where we were born, they are adopting a completely new way of working with their Frontline. So where traditionally they had learning management systems that were never used, the new approach is to take a completely integrated view of what an experience should be like for a colleague in the store. So it's a blend of not just learning, but communications and a lot of other things to deliver that experience. So this is the summer of 2024. Margrete, can you take us through the summer and what happened?
Yes, the summers in Norway are short, so be really well prepared. And we love to barbecue and grill a nice perfect burger in the summer. When the sun comes out, which isn't that often, we have to run out and grill. We knew that if we really were to win the barbecue season, we had to be well prepared in Coop side as well. We know that we couldn't just launch another long e-learning module and hope for the best. We had some experience with our new learning app at this point, so we knew that we had several strings to play on, not just delivering content. And we knew that most of our workers are part-time, they're young, maybe this is her first job. For instance, Lisa here, 18-year-old, part-time worker, and she has never sold a burger in her life this summer. It's her first job, and she really wants to do a good job, but she finds it hard to interact with customers. She doesn't really know how to start a conversation, how to talk about the food that she's selling. So what we did, we thought this must be a campaign, not just delivering a training module. So we started with a teaser. We sent out a little teaser in the app saying the barbecue season is coming, are you ready? And we also asked some very easy questions like, what's your best grilling tip? How do you grill a perfect burger? And that was the start of it. And then we used the same marketing material as they did in the marketing campaign towards the customers. We turned that in words and mirrored it into the learning app. So it was recognizable for the people in the store and what they saw in media. And then we tried to set on a really informal tone and make it fun and engaging and personal. After the teaser, we started sending out micro-learning modules. And we set up an area in the app where you can find articles and recipes and inspiration. We sent out continuous small micro-learning modules about burgers, small videos, and quizzes and recipes in a mix, like variations throughout these months. And this was from April to August. And what also did the trick here was that we set up quite a competitive agenda. We wanted the stores to compete against each other, and this was our supermarket chain, Mega. They were competing store to store with leaderboards and competitions. And we tried to also use their internal communication channels to create this engagement around the burgers. And what we did that was really different was that we took the answers from this questionnaire, this tiny little questionnaire that we had in the beginning with a teaser, and we fed that feedback into the content and gave it back to them. Like you said that the best way to grill a cheeseburger is to put the cheddar on at the very end when the burger is warmest, because then it melts perfectly, or something like that. That's one tip from your colleague Lisa. And that way the training was very personal, and it wasn't just something that somebody up in the corporate office made, it was something that was generated from your peers. We wrapped up the whole training campaign with lots of feeding back the results from the campaign, giving them how many burgers have you sold so far, how many buns have you sold, how many tomatoes, all the lettuce, all the stuff that you need to actually grill a perfect burger. And we chatted about this earlier, that in English it's called cross-say. When you say more stuff, we call it care and say. Because you sell stuff because you care that the customer comes home able to actually grill the perfect burger. Not just with the burger, but they have the salad and they have the dressing and they have everything. So it's the way to show that you care about the customer, that you actually offer them more. But Lisa, 18, wouldn't know how to if she didn't get this training. And what we did was we actually focused in on just burgers. We branded the training portal or the app with burgers. We taught burgers for months. And that was a very bold move of the mega chain, supermarket chain, because there's such a pressing agenda, always something that's important, and to do IT security training, to do compliance training, and all the different stuff. But they said, no, we want to burst through the roof with our burger campaign, so let's just focus on that. This is what it looked like, flames everywhere, juicy, nice burgers.
Okay, so I think there's a few things when we spoke earlier that really stood out for me. I don't want to say traditional learning systems, but they were. The old world of traditional learning, we just send out information, force people into a back office to do their compliance training, and people reluctantly do it. One of the things that stood out for me on this story was how you brought colleagues into the enablement themselves with these tips. That's inspiring, right?
Yeah, and that was really, it was fun because then I saw that this is actually what I answer, these questions that I answer and what I type is actually used for something. It's not just a drill that you have to do, but it's actually fed back to us, and you can inspire other colleagues with your knowledge. That was really a turning point, because then people realize this is not just corporate training, it's relevant to me.
And I think people here in the audience have probably gone out and done store tours, or all of us that's going to stores. Having dialogue with someone who is engaged and passionate about what they do makes such a difference. But the other thing you mentioned, which I think is interesting, is that you took an integrated approach. So it wasn't just learning, other teams, communications teams, all involved in this, is that right?
Yeah. We teamed up with marketing, so they have big budgets, and they're able to make nice photographs and movies and gifts and everything. We knew that when they were having a campaign, we could use a lot of their material to be used to build competence instead of attracting customers to the store. So that was a really important partner to have with marketing, and also the category owner of Neat with all their knowledge. And we also teamed up with some experts from the stores, and we filmed them to show how they sell the perfect burger and how they grill the perfect burger. So we could give how-to videos from your colleagues.
It makes a huge difference, having everybody on board. When you think now about trying to launch new change initiatives in the store, whether it's products or whether it's things like electronic shelf labels, whatever it might be, how do you think this capability impacts the time that it takes you to deliver that enablement to the front line?
It's so much faster than it used to be. That's two reasons mainly, because in the old world we had to make a long e-learning course. And since we only made one per subject, it was so important to get everything in there. Oh, it was this and this, and need to know, nice to know, and a bit more. I mean, when that long e-learning was finished, it had to be approved by so many stakeholders that wanted to stake in this training program. So that made it really difficult the time to market, so to speak, was very long because it was so important. But when you do micro-learning, it's fresh. It's over in a minute, but then you can redo it if you do wrong, and you can just keep reinforcing one subject or one competence or one message till you get it right. You don't have to go around the whole organization and checking every box. It's much more agile to work like that.
Okay. So you're delivering a new way of enabling Lisa and people like Lisa on the front line. You're doing it in an integrated way that blends learning, communications, marketing, and you're delivering it much faster. But what about the data that you now potentially have access to? What is that data, and what is that data showing you?
The most interesting data we found in this campaign was this very high increase in employee confidence. That's something that we have never measured before, but it was so much fun to see, because that's one thing that we were really going for, was to increase the confidence. And 26.8, that's pretty massive increase in confidence. And the way it's measured is that when we send out questions, because this micro-learning is always enforced with questions, and when you answer a question in the app, you always say, how confident are you about your answer? And that's the way we can measure confidence. Because then you see that if you are not very confident and you answer wrongly, then you get the question again, guaranteed. If you get it right but you're not very confident, you will get it again for sure. So you need to be answering right with great confidence to be finished with that question. And that's the way the algorithm works in the app. And this increase was amazing. And this shows us that training and focusing and reinforcing knowledge actually works. They are more confident to actually talk to customers.
I know from a lot of conversations that we have, people will say, okay, it's great to see an increase in confidence, but the business, when they're looking at the business case, they're going to be looking for what is the increase in loyalty sign-ups? What's the decrease in potential accidents in the store? But the big one will always be, what is the potential top line impact on something like revenue?
Yeah. And this campaign from April to August made us sell 3 times more burgers than we did year over year. That was a massive increase. And of course, we can't take all the credit because you never know if there's anything else about the marketing or that the marketing campaign was pretty much the same as the year before. So the big differentiator here was the learning campaign.
Oh, that's great to see. So I expect more burger sales this year in 2021. Has it been a good season?
It has been a good season. We now have the recipe.
Just thinking about the results that you see, were there any benefits or things that happened since you adopted this new way of working that you didn't anticipate at the beginning?
It's probably the speed in how fast we can deliver content. Given that we have my team, we are 10 people and 3 of them are dedicated to making content and doing communication and competition and all this gamification around the app. So 3 people serving 28,000, that's quite a good ratio. But they are able to deliver content really quickly. And we have also gotten a much closer cooperation with the subject matter experts and also the stores.
When you now think about what you're going to be achieving over the next 12, 18 months, can you just give us a view of where you're heading and what you plan to do?
Yes, we're planning on doing much more of the competitions and the gamification because we see that really works. Retailers are competitive people, love to compete. We're gonna turn up on the competition, turn up the prices maybe, and more cross brands and cross the organization. Also, we wanted to do more blended learning approach. We do that a little bit with our managers. We invite them to physical training, and then before they come, they use the app to prepare and to prime them into the session. And then we also use the Coop School Learning app to reinforce what they have learned in the management programs. But we want to do this with more roles as well, not just the managers.
I wanted to ask you whether Coop is digitizing their stores and whether their employees, or frontliners in this case, are also trained in digitization works in their stores.
That's a good question. We have some stores that are completely digital. We are a long country and very distributed stores. So somewhere along the coast there are stores that wouldn't have been closed if it weren't for the possibility of a fully digital store. So we have that approach in many of our smaller stores in the local communities. And that's a way of securing food supply to the whole of the country. But that means that we have to train the employees as well because their role is different. Maybe they just drive between different stores to stack shelves and then over to the next. And also the digital equipment that you need with scanners and key cards to get in and everything. So yes, we do that as well. We train, but then the good thing here is that we can pinpoint the target groups that we want to train because not everybody needs that training because it doesn't really affect all the stores.
Thank you. Do you also feel this digitization and the frontliners interaction, or just the engagement of them in their work or in their journey?
Yes, for sure. It absolutely engages the frontline teams. They used to be unconnected. They didn't used to have a way to connect with other colleagues. They used Facebook, and now they can actually use a learning app that is connected to everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for explaining, because I think it was a marvelous case. You just explained at the end it was 3 times more sales on your burgers. What was your initial expectation?
2 or 3 more burgers. No, we did not at all expect that. We didn't, for that reason, we didn't set a target. We used it as a test case to see how far can we take it if we just focus on one thing with a very holistic focus. What would happen? So it was more like an exploratory approach than anything. I can't really say what we were expecting.
But then I think it's even more hard to start a case like this because your management also would like to see more or less what the investment will bring.
Yeah.
And it was it just pure confidence in the case from your management, or how did they eventually take the decision to drive for it? or is it a part of the larger strategy?
It's here part of a larger strategy that we want to engage the frontline teams more going forward, and also that we need to focus on fewer things, not bombard them with everything that feels important at the office, but make it easier to be a frontline team member.
Thank you so much.
I think we've got time for one more question. If there isn't one from the audience, I will take it. Okay, bring your own device in Europe has been a challenge. We've worked with the retail the last 12 months. They wouldn't allow employees to use their own devices. They did a pilot with us for 10 months. They gave them the option and they were blown away. 90% of people used their own device, downloaded the app. What was your experience introducing bring your own device?
It's the same experience. We met some resistance initially because the management of the 60 cooperatives were afraid that they would have to pay for phones, that they would have to pay for network and pay for hours spent outside of work, and a lot of initial worries. But now they have seen that the best strategy, mobile first and bring your own device, really works well. Because people get the feeling that they are trusted. Of course, they can't use their phone on the shop floor, but they use it in the back room before they go in the door or in the lunch break or after work. And they even do it on the bus or in the home. So that's the big plus about bring your own device, that we connect people in a way that builds trust and engagement.
We are, for the first time ever, treating frontline workers as equals, democratizing, giving them access that corporate workers have. And with this, you can see how they perform, and it is amazing. Thank you all for taking your time to come and spend it with us this morning. We're right at the front by the entrance. If you're looking to introduce change or you want to do different on your front line, come over, have a conversation with us, and we'd love to continue it. But Margrete, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.